Hey, good morning. Hey, Vel. Hey, BL. Hey, Kavindu. Hey, Nick. Hey, Jen. How is everyone doing? The UK inflation is still above 10%. It is still above 10%. Latest breaking news, well, 1 hour ago. Hey, Suki, how you doing? Anyone got into the euro or the yen? I was just sharing with you guys on that on Discord. Wait a couple of minutes before we get started. BL got into the pound dollar. Good stuff. Hey, Spiros. Hey, Jerry. How are you doing from Vancouver? What time is it over there? It is very early in the morning, if I'm not wrong. Hey, Angel Case. 12 a.m. Okay, not as bad. I thought it was like 2 a.m. or something, but yeah, not as bad as I thought. But thank you for joining. Good to see you here. One more minute and we shall get started. In the meantime, if you haven't already, the link is there. Do join the Discord channel and also do click that like, subscribe button on YouTube and that follow and rocket ship button on TradingView. Hey, Robbie, how's the trading going? You had the first trade out. Did you do a second and a third? Hey, Jamil, good morning. Let's couple more seconds and we shall go. If you had any trades, let me know what kind of trades you got into or which trades you got into. I'll be looking forward to see that. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome again to the daily market analysis. For the regulars, welcome back. For the new attendees, welcome to the session. Do drop it into the chat, whether it's on YouTube or on TradingView. Where are you joining me from? I would love to find out. We have Jerry here from Vancouver, so it's good to see. We are reaching out to people from all around the world, so I look forward to seeing more of you guys onto the session. And if you haven't already, the Discord link is there. Do click and join the Discord channel. It is free to join, absolutely free to join. This is where we'll be sharing more analysis beyond this market analysis session, this 1 hour session. We've got a whole team of traders and a whole community of traders on board, which are pretty much sharing trade ideas 24 hours a day, right? So do join the session, share your trade ideas, get some feedback, share your trading experience, share your trading journey. We're all here to help each other get better, get more profitable, get more consistent. Hey, Goju, how are you doing? So what we do here on the daily market analysis, which I do this at 3 p.m. GMT plus 8 every day, Monday to Fridays. We look at the fundamentals, what happened before, what's coming up. We just had the pound or the UK with their CPI numbers. I'll tell you more about that shortly. So we look at the fundamentals, we look at the technicals, we look at where price is, how it's reacting, where we think it could head towards. Combining that together, we look for possible trade setups across the major currency pairs. And if you do have any questions at any point in time, for example, any specific currency pairs that you like to look at, or any questions about the analysis or the setups that we're looking at, do put it into the chat. Let me know. I'll be happy to address those questions. Our trade setups, we identify the entry levels, or stop loss levels, or take profit levels, all that. But please remember, if you do jump into any trades, The standard disclaimer applies because any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. The contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please do your own due diligence. And remember that your objectives, financial situation, and needs, what I mean by that is your target levels or your capital amount, your current trades or your risk amounts has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. All right. So please don't just jump into every trade blindly, whatever we talked about, because there are times where trades will make money, there are times where trades will lose money, or there are times even where trades are not triggered as well. Okay. And if you do jump into all the trades, I will guarantee you that you will be over leveraged, you will be over trading. As much as I can, I'll try and indicate which trades I think, or which setup I think is likely to happen sooner, which ones will happen later. But it is the market. We still have to depend on the overall volatility and liquidity to see where price could head towards. Okay. So again, thank you all for attending the session. If you do have any questions, or if you're new to the session, drop a message, say hi, let me know you're here. With that, let's keep going. And I'm looking at, just do a quick check of something. The pound dollar has a big shoot up, huge shoot up, because of that move. So that was quite interesting. Okay, so what happened last night in terms of the news? What we did see yesterday, we were talking about this quite extensively. CPI, right? CPI for the Canadians, median CPI dropped slightly, but not as much as expected. It went from a 4.9 to a 4.6. Markets were anticipating a 4.5. So it's still slowing down, right? CPI or inflation growth in Canada is still slowing down. Currently, median CPI at 4.6%, trimmed CPI at 4.4 as expected. Hey, Emilita, how are you doing? So that's, I wouldn't say it's bad news. It's still okay because we are seeing CPI or inflation growth slow down in Canada, which is leading towards or supporting the Bank of Canada's view that the Bank of Canada's view that they would not have to increase rates further. The inflation growth does seem like it's on a slightly downward trend. And if I did that, you could see, no chart. Okay, so you could see that it is trending to the downside. So what we saw here in terms of how price reacted on the news release, we were looking for it to drop, maybe drop down to the level and bounce back up. It didn't drop as much as we expected. It just came down to that 1.3360 level before bouncing up, and right now trading along 1.34. Okay, so this move didn't happen. I'll take that away and that away. Okay, so it went up to that 1.34. Interesting level right now because I'm sure you can see that we are forming a bit of a possible double top formation there on the US CAD at that round number level of 1.34. I'll tell you more about that shortly as we look into the details. But this was what happened in terms of the news, the CPI news for the CAD last night. Hey, Bill, how are you doing? Hey, Bosha, good to see you. Hey, Onos Mister from Dubai, good to see you there. Okay, so that was last night. What we have today, or we had today at 2 p.m., 1 hour ago, was the UK with their CPI release. CPI year on year for the UK was 10.4%, expected 9.8%, came out at a 10.1. Didn't drop as much as expected, 10.4 to a 9.8, but it did drop slightly to a 10.1. UK CPI, like Val said right at the start of this session, it is still above 10%. It looks like it might be slightly sticky to the 10% level. We had an indication that CPI was not going to drop as much as expected, also because of yesterday's employment numbers where we saw average earnings at 5.9%, staying at 5.9%, not dropping, right? Not dropping to that 5.1. So as people were earning more or average earnings stayed high, that's an indication of employment or wage inflation, which ends up leading to inflation, overall inflation, not slowing down as much as expected. Okay, so that's why we saw this news at 10.1%. What resulted on the pound dollar, zooming in at 2 o'clock here, right? It dropped slightly, but then it had a big push up, and it looks like it's pushing up higher. So this didn't happen last night as well. Okay, so we take that away. Right now, looking like it's pushing up. I actually did share this view on the market update, right? Market or slight slowdown in inflation growth, not as much as expected. I edited it slightly because I did say that I was expecting more upside on the pound dollar, but I wanted to share with you more about that view during this session. Okay, so if you haven't already, do make sure you join the Discord channel. I do share with you more about the news to be released, what to look out for, what happened. I have my watch list here, and then we do share a lot of other trade ideas through the day. So that's the news from 1 hour ago at 2 p.m., the UK CPI year on year. And that's going to give the buyers, right, because it is still at the 10% level, if it is still slightly sticky to the upside, then we might see the Bank of England being forced to hike rates a little bit more, right? We might see that. There is still a lot of data to be released, so not immediately we're going to see that impact, but that is some indication that we might see the Bank of England maybe being forced into some rate increases, okay? Following on from that, not a lot of other news. We do have at 5 p.m. the Euro CPI to be released, and it's not likely to change much, likely to stay at 5.7% for core CPI, and final CPI looking to stay at 6.9%. Yeah, so it was 8.5. I'm not sure why it says 6.9 there. I think that it will come out at 6.9. It's not going to move prices too much at this point. Okay, nothing much else. We do have crude oil, and then into tomorrow, early tomorrow morning, for my time, 6:45 a.m. GMT +8, we do have the Kiwi, right, the New Zealand dollar, with their CPI quarter on quarter. It was 1.4%, expected 1.5%. Looking like we might see some increase in inflation growth for New Zealand, so that would be interesting. Might see a small bounce in the Kiwi dollar, and then not much else through the day. Okay, so not a lot of things to look out for in terms of the news, which could be quite a good thing at this point in time, because we have seen markets being a little bit choppy, bouncing around all the place. With no big shocks at this point, we might see a trend starting to develop. And I am looking for a trend to develop when price is sitting in that horizontal or that choppy fashion. Trading becomes a lot harder. All right. So far, so good. Any questions? Let me see. Okay, no. Okay, good stuff. So now looking at the dollar index. All right, we were looking at this. So we were talking about this yesterday. Charts keep becoming a lot messy, so we'll take some stuff out. We're looking for it to come down, test this level, and bounce up. right? I thought that could get to 102.40. It didn't get as high. It did come down to that 101.67 or 101.70 level before bouncing. So this 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level did hold. It held quite well. It bounced up, it tested again and bounced up again to test 102, right? To test 102 as a resistance. And right now, looking like it's tracking back down again. Okay, so clearing out the charts a little bit. Okay, it looks like it's tracking back down. I am still looking for it to come down. It has to break below 101.60 or below 101. Yeah, it has to break below 101.60, close below that 38.2 level before we could anticipate further downside here on the dollar index. Okay, so my nose is killing me right now. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, so on the dollar, what I'm looking for, because of, hang on, let me just do this. Take that away. Let's try that one. Yeah. All right, so coming up for, especially for the dollar, what I think is likely to happen is that we could see the dollar index trade down. If it does break below this 38.2, which it held for the last two times, if it does break down, we could see it come down towards this 61.8 fib level, which is the 101.33 interim support level. It is also within that gap there. Okay, so could be looking at 101.30 or 101.30. Let's just put it there. Okay, so summary sheet, we'll say that on the 19th of April, we're looking for the dollar index to break 101.60 down to 101.30. Okay, I don't see a potentially big move to the downside. I don't see it getting down to 100.84 with no big stimulus to push it down. Could come down and trade to that 101.30. Alternatively, if it holds, then it's going to be trapped within this 101.60 and 102 level. Okay, so I would like to see that trade down just to form a bit of a trend on the dollar index and then right across the board, but it could also very well just do that, continue to do that again. All right, so that's the view for the dollar, looking at some downside potential. Leading on to that, we'll look at the Kiwi dollar. All right, so Kiwi dollar, we're looking for this to push up. We were anticipating some dollar weakness to push this up. It didn't happen. So that trade, oops, can I do that? Okay, so price didn't close above that entry level, so that trade wouldn't have triggered. So we'll take that away. Right now, it came down, tested this 0.6182 level, right? You can see again that support level looking like a push up, but all right, I'll show you this short-term view here, still holding that to the downside, okay? So I wouldn't be looking for, it's actually a very similar view to yesterday, is that I wouldn't be looking for an entry on the Kiwi dollar unless, so far for today. Okay, so I'll put that there and take that away for now and say that if it breaks above, then we could see it trade up. So it's a very similar view to yesterday. If it breaks above, so 0.6225, all right, stop loss, I would keep it a bit tighter at about 20, maybe 20 pips. Take profit could go as high as 60, but you could be looking to get out at about 30 as well. Okay, so I would say that 65 would be reasonable. Okay, so how about this? All right, if we look at this Kiwi dollar to buy up, if it breaks above the previous high, 20 pip stop loss, 65 pip take profit, with a bit of a decision to be made at 6255. Okay, so 6225, 6225, 20 pip stop loss, take profit 65 pips, right? Watch at 0.6255. Okay, you like that trade? Possible trade setup there on the Kiwi dollar. All right, so that's the view for Kiwi. Aussie dollar, when we're looking for it to test up, it did test, not as much as we expected. It pushed down, not as much as we expected as well. So that trade didn't trigger again. Fortunately, we take that out. Right, it is fluctuating along this 0.6725 level. Right, it's bouncing around this level, struggling to find a direction. I think that looking at this, right, let me just zoom out and have a look. Looking at this, we might see if price continues to hold and fail to break lower, right? If price holds and fails to break lower, just testing a few levels here, okay, especially below this point. Let me just do one more. Yeah, you can see that 50% point is broken. Okay, so now for the Aussie dollar, if price continues to hold, especially with that trend line now pushing to the upside, I do want to look for some upside potential on the Aussie dollar, especially anticipating that possible weakness on the dollar index. I would say that if the Aussie, and you can see this triangle forming there, right? Actually, very nice triangle forming there. If it does break above, you could be looking for it to test that 6790 and possibly even 0.68 as a round number as a resistance level. Okay, so I would be looking for a long position about 6745, take profit 45 pips, stop loss, I would just have it below this level at about 20 pips, just because I have that trend line. If it breaks out that trend line, we have that trend line, we have a bit of a resistance turn support level protecting the trade. So we could be looking at almost 1:2 risk reward ratio to the upside there on the Aussie dollar. Okay, makes sense to you all? If it makes sense, let me know. Put it into the chat. Just want to see a response from everyone, just to know that it's all good so far. So 6745, 20 pips to 45 pips. I'll be looking to, thanks Leader, thanks Suki, buy 0.6745, stop loss about 20 pips, take profit about 45 pips to the upside. All right, so you can see that these two trade setups, possible trade setups, we're looking at potentially that dollar index pushing price, or that dollar index weakness, or weakness in the dollar index possibly pushing price to the upside. Thanks, Val. So next up, we have the US yen, right? US yen has been one of those that I pretty much have been, if I show you this, it's been high on my watch list. I've been telling you about US yen possibly breaking up the consolidation to 135. This was yesterday. Today, again, as it bounced down, I said, let's look for it to test 135. I think even the day before, I was looking at USD yen. I'm looking for further upside on the, this was on the 17th. So pretty much every day, I've been looking at the USD yen. I've been considering whether it could, where am I lost? Okay, whether it could push up towards 135. It looks like it's a setup now that's going to happen. It's a small trade, right? We were looking at it at 134.58, right? We're looking at it at 134.58. If you did get into that trade, not yesterday, but today, because it's now reached that level, I do think that we could see it test 135. If you haven't got into that trade already, then you might want to think about that, especially as the hour closes. If it does close a little bit stronger, we could see 135. If you didn't get into the trade, what you might want to do as well is to wait, right? So actually, I would say that if you haven't got into a trade, either do a quick scalp towards the end of the close of the hour, right? But I don't think the close of the hour is going to be attractive yet. I would say that if you haven't got into a trade, hold off. Look for the US yen to get to 135. I think that we could see price climb to 135. And then for those contrarians in us, we could look for a retracement from 135. Very similar to what happened here in the mid of March, where it tested 135 and bounced back down. I would be looking for that, especially if we do see that dollar index weakening. All right, thanks, Nick. So a lot of patience required here on the US yen, right? I'll be looking if it tests, maybe even what it could do is break slightly above, then retrace back down. So what I'll be looking for is a possible sell, 134.90. About a 25 pip stop loss, back down maybe 100 pips. More realistically, so I'd say 100 pips as a take profit, but you could even be looking at about 50. Okay, so as a counter trend trade, I would like this possible setup because I would be looking at an interim level at about this point, so about 50 pips. And then a maximum at about 100 pips to the downside, a 1:4 risk-reward ratio on the US yen, right? So test 135, look for rejection for a counter trend trade back down. Okay, I do know there are counter trend traders who are quite keen, who would be quite keen on this. Look for rejection of 135. Sell at 134.90, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 100 with hesitation at about 134.40. At 134.40. There we go. That's the US yen. All right. Good, cool. Possibly. So if you haven't got into a trade, wait it out. Let's see it push up, test that level, and turn back down. If you want to scalp it up, could be an opportunity as well. If you already are riding it up or holding that trade, then I do think that you'll get to 135, but we are looking for that rejection at 135. Okay. So pips for breakfast. Okay, so next up, pound dollar. Pound dollar, inflation still above that 10% level. Sticky, possibly sticky to the high side. I like that it came down, tested that 1.24 level. A lot of people would have said that it came down and it swept a lot of that stop loss, and then now it has that big push up. Critically, it is coming towards, or it just tested that 61.8 level. That's why it is retracing slightly. Looking for this move to continue. Would be too late to get in right now, especially with that previous level there. Take this away. I would say that, take that and clear it out a little bit. 61.8 is there. It does need to break above this previous levels and then climb up. Okay, so again, some waiting here. Decision point is within this range, right? Decision point is within this range. If it does break above, then I'll take this one away. If it does break above, then we could see it climb to that previous high, which you would be looking at a trade about 1.25. All right, 1.25. You take profit, stop loss, about a 20 pip, right below that round number. So I like that round number level. I like this area. So 1:2 to the upside. It does need to break above. So this is a very, hang on a second, what's happening here? Okay, so this is a very safe entry. Safe doesn't mean that it's definitely going to make money. Safe doesn't mean that you should definitely enter the trade, or safe doesn't mean that you should size up on the trade. What I mean by safe entry is that, you know, I would normally be looking to buy at that point, 1.2490, and then, you know, target that 50 pip upward move with a 20 pip stop loss. But it is going to be a little bit risky because it's coming close to that 1.25 round number level. Okay, so for those of you who are a little bit more risk adverse, I would say wait for it to break above 1.25 before looking to buy. If not, then if it breaks above this 61.8, which is coming very close, and then it breaks above this area, you could be looking for that upside potential already. Okay, so I'll keep it as this. I like this setup a bit more, although it's a little bit more risky with that round number resistance there. Okay, so 1.2490, 20 pip stop loss, 50 pip take profit. Okay, so pound dollar, looking to buy at 1.2490, stop loss 20, TP 50, watch 1.25 round number. Okay. So there are, you know, some. Would you be a scalp trade? What would be a scalp trade on this, Jin? Suki, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the pound dollar? Suki, are you talking about a pound dollar for the scalp trade? Yeah. I wouldn't scalp. I wouldn't think of a scalp. I would think that we could, you know, if it does break above, I think that the momentum is going to carry it up. So wouldn't be a scalp trade. I wouldn't scalp it up. So yeah, not a scalp trade for this, I wouldn't say. Okay. If it tests and reject, then you could be looking for that downside, and that's relatively straightforward. Testing that level and then pushing down. All right, a rejection, you could be looking to sell this down. I think that we're more likely to see it push up with the current momentum, but you could be looking at 20 pip and then that 50 pip down as well. So it's really that decision point there. Sorry, something's happening here. My nose. Okay, it's really at that decision point there where a breakthrough could see further upside potential. A rejection of this level will see it track back down again. Momentum tells me or shows me that I think we could see further upside, but you know, the options are there. Euro dollar. I did a very sneaky trade here on the euro dollar just before this session. As the pound dollar was fluctuating around, I saw the euro dollar break, I think 1.09. I think it broke, take this away for now. It broke below today's starting point. I just got a quick trade in. It was a very quick scalp, right? It was a very quick scalp. I just had that very tight take. I had my take profit there, just hoping that it would have a big drop, but then it fell by like that 10, 20 pips, almost 20, but I got out at about 10 pips, right? So it was a quick trade, wanted to get in, get out quickly, and then have this session here with you guys. Let the sneeze out, don't hold it. I'm not holding on to sneeze, it's just something that's irritating my nose like mad. It's an irritation, an allergy. Something's in the room that's causing it to itch. Okay, so that said, euro dollar, we were sharing about this on the Discord channel where I was, and that's also the reason why I had a quick trade to the downside as we saw that double top, right? A small double top on the H1 time frame. I was anticipating for the downside. For this to work, we do need it to break below this 1.0955 level. Not doing that so far. Okay. So I would say that I know something's going to move on the euro, but what? In which direction? All right, so it's done that. No, this doesn't make sense. We can take this one away. Take this away as well. I would like to think that not happening as well. Hey, relieved success. Good to see you. Good to see your nickname there. This is just consolidating at this point. The euro dollar is just consolidating at this point with the anticipation for the dollar to push down. It's retracing a little bit for it to push down. We should be seeing this push up. I don't have a strong view of where the euro dollar could head towards. All right, it is right in that middle of it's testing this level. Okay, so I'll put this there. That's my resistance. That's my support level. That's my interim level. It's just testing this level. It could very well trade down. I would say that the most likely scenario is that it'll come down, test this level, and then bounce, not all the way, but bounce back up again. In terms of a trade, I wouldn't, this would be a short-term scalping kind of trade just because it hasn't formed any clear directions and it's been choppy at this level. So maybe an idea will be, considering this as a short-term scalp, if it does start forming a direction. But if not, if you're looking at it at a intraday or slightly longer term view, I would say cool off on the euro dollar for the time being until it finds a clearer directional bias. Okay, so unfortunately, I know euro dollar is a favorite for a lot of people, especially some who have different methods. I'm looking at some people here in the office, but I would say that euro dollar, wait for clearer directional bias. Okay, good stuff. Next up, US Swiss franc. Yesterday, it was almost at the same price. Yesterday, we were looking at this at 3 p.m. at this price as well. Right now, it's at the same price. So, not forming a clear direction. still right in the middle. I would still hold the same view where, instead of saying stay out for now, I would say the same thing with the euro. I would say wait for a clearer directional bias. Okay, on the Swiss franc. Looks interesting that the dollar index is retracing. But I think like what I was saying, that it could very likely just trade within this range, but we are still looking for that breakout potential. Well, no, not hay fever, just something that's tickling the nose. Okay, so that's the view on the US Swiss franc. Unfortunately, not a clear direction yet. CAD, we were looking for it to come down, to bounce up at this point. Remember I was telling you guys about that, potential for that correction on the CAD. Big drop so far, right? That big drop down, and you can see that it's right now along that 1.34 resistance level, right? Which kind of correlates with 38.2. Right, we're looking for that. It's actually slightly broken already, so we're looking for it to close above. We could be looking for that upside move. I think 50% is a little bit too near. Let's see where next it could hit towards. No, that's a support level. It was a resistance, now possibly a support. With that upward trend line supporting that move higher, I could be looking for a buy if it closes above 1.3425, right? Take profit, could get up to 80 pips. Stop loss 30 to 40 pips. I would say 35, right? Just at that trend line level, just below that support level. And if it trades up, we do have some hesitation, some possible hesitation at about that 61.8 level there, right? So a lot of fluctuations along that point. So I would say that we could look at a bit of a hesitation at that point. Okay, so that's the view on the US CAD. Looking for it to trade up from 1.3425, 35 pip stop loss, 80 pip take profit. So US CAD looking to buy for 1.3425, stop loss about 35, take profit about 80. There we go. Super. Okay. I will share with you this next one that we've been talking about for the longest time. High on my watch list. We were looking for this to counter down, but if you've been watching through the sessions, I've always been talking about the pound yen pushing higher, looking for it to test that 169 level. It's on the way, pushing up. It's now actually approaching 168. So if you haven't already, don't rush into this trade. I do think that with the current momentum, we could see this continue pushing up. One thing to think about is that it is way outside of the Bollinger Band, right? It is way out of the Bollinger Band. So I do anticipate that we could see it retrace, especially towards the end of this hour. We could see it retrace a little bit, possibly towards 167.50, and then push back up again. Okay, if I went to M15, it does look like it'll retrace a little bit. Yeah, it looks like it could retrace a little bit before pushing back up. Okay, so that's what I would be as an interim level, 167.50. I'll be looking for it to retrace to that point to buy it up again. right? And you can be looking at 129 pips, 130 pips upside. I like to have a bit of a wider stop loss on the pound yen just because it's super volatile. So about 40 pips to 130 to the upside there to test 169 on the pound yen. Okay. So I like that it's broken out of that resistance. I like that it's broken above the recent high. We're looking for this to continue. If it doesn't retrace, then I'll look for it to break above 168 and then just have a quick trade up. So, above 168, you might not have as big a take profit. You have about 90 pips. Then you have about a 30, 40 pip stop loss there on the pound yen. Okay, let's just look for that. 168 at 40 pips to 90 pips take profit. So we're looking to buy above 168, stop loss 40, take profit 90. I'm super happy that that's running up. I do have a small trade running to the upside. Have a good one, Gen B. I hope the teeth are all good. All right. Gold. Okay, gold pushing down. Dollar gaining some strength. Right, dollar looking like it's pushing up. I wouldn't change this view unless it breaks above 102. I think that is going to fluctuate. But the gold, like we were talking about yesterday, I think that the view of gold testing higher is possibly not there anymore. The momentum to the upside is limited. Now pushing lower, if it breaks below 1988, we could see a test of 1964. Okay, so no direction. So consolidating along 2000, it did that, it's breaking down. And then pushing down. I'll answer, give me a second, Suki, I'll answer that shortly. Yeah, so I would be looking for gold to break down to this 1964 level, especially if it breaks below 1988. Okay, if gold goes down below, look for break of 1988 down to 1964. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's the view on gold. All right, so any further questions, any trading related questions, let me know. Suki has a very good question there on YouTube, is that do you prefer the Bollinger Band over the Ichimoku Cloud? Do you use both? I don't hardly ever see you use either, so I was surprised to see it. Would you choose one over the other? Okay, so what I actually do, I'm familiar with the Ichimoku Cloud. Sometimes I do use that, but in my setup, I actually use the Bollinger Band a lot more than the cloud. In fact, I don't even use the cloud that much. So I would say the Bollinger Band is one of the standard items that I use as my setup. Let me just find it. So I did this is going to be a bit of a test to find Bollinger Band. Maybe not so hard. All right, so the video, I have done a series of write-ups on the Bollinger Band, my absolute favorite, okay? So I do have a part 1 and 2. I think there is a part 3 as well. So I'll put this, let me just find part 1. Okay, part 1, 2, and 3 is all there. So the link is there. I'll put it into the Discord channel as well for you guys. I do use the Bollinger Bands a lot more. I do have customized way that I use the Bollinger Band as well, especially on this one, part 2, if I'm not wrong. where we talk about retracements, right? When you know it's too late, or when you don't know it's too late to enter a trade. For me, I use the Bollinger Bands to tell me when it's too late, because when price is outside of the 2 standard deviation level, you do tend to see price bounce back in, right? So for me, I do have a 2 standard deviation and a 1 standard deviation just to see how price moves, different ways to look at it. But this is one of the key features that I use the Bollinger Band for, is when price is outside of the band, you do tend to see it bounce back in, either back down or back up. All right, so if I just showed you another example here on the Bollinger Band, right? This kind of scenario is when you see it drop and you think, oh, great, it's dropping that much. I want to sell. The next moment it bounces back in. How it prevents me from getting into a bad trade, an emotional trade. This is an emotional move. You would sell there and then bounces back in. I would check, it's outside Bollinger Band. I wouldn't enter a trade. Very similar to this move here, where it breaks out, right? Most people would think, oh, great, get into a trade. And then once you get in, next moment it retraces back in. So whenever it's outside of that 2 standard deviation, it's a big warning. To me, it's a big warning that we might see price retrace back in. And it has saved me on many occasions not to get into a trade before a big retrace. But there are situations where it is outside of Bollinger Band and then it continues down again. So it does tend, it could make you miss a trade, but I do value it more in the sense where it prevents me from entering a trade right at the top. Next moment it retraces back down and then you suffer that heartache waiting. Okay. So yeah, I like this tool, very important tool. You can find out more on the post that I have done there. I actually do have a course that I run as well. It's dated right now. It's all on YouTube. It's where is it? Let me find it. It's I don't know how to find it. Playlist. All right, so it is 4-day Kickstarter. So you can go check out the course there. It does give you, all the tools and how I set up my charts, but this was back 1 year ago, so it's a little bit dated. I am working on a new set of course material for you guys. So, when it's available, when it's ready to be launched, I'll let you know as well. Okay. Kavindu with a question on the Euro Pound. We'll look at that. Ooh, what happened here? Okay. Okay, and also the reason why during these sessions I don't have the Bollinger Bands and all that for you on this session, it's just because it tends to make the chart a little bit messier. So I do trigger it on just to show you guys levels, but especially like this, where you see this pushing out, and then we could see this pushing back in again. Okay, so Kavindu, on your question on the Euro Pound, I do think that we could see this trade down. But it does need to retrace a little bit to that 0.88 level. So this is how I look at it as well, right? It needs to come back into the Bollinger Band, test this level, and then trade back down again. So I do think we could see more downside on the Euro Pound, but might retrace a little bit before trading down. Okay, Kavindu. Could trade down because of, if we do see the pound dollar strengthening, that's going to push the Euro Pound down. So Takmil Quresh asked, stuck in gold from 2000, did gold retrace back? Will gold retrace back or not? If you're in gold at 2000, unfortunately, my view, do your own analysis, but my view, I think it could retrace. I don't think it will get to 2000. You could be lucky, it could get to 2000, but I think it will come close before trading back down again. right? I think so. If it does hit 2,000, that would be fantastic, especially for you. But I think it'll come close before trading back down again. So something to think about there. Kuresh, M Leader said, quick thanks, I learned about BB from you long ago. Now it's a standard indicator of my charts. Fantastic. I like it when you guys learn something and it becomes a mainstay on your trading setup. Very good. Relief Success asks, what tips would you offer someone who struggles with emotions when trading? How do you make yourself aware of your emotional state when trading? All right. One thing, make sure you join the Discord channel. You have a place to chat when things are working or not working in your favor. Two is that one way to try and limit down, right? You never trade with no emotions. We're all human beings, unless you're a robot, right? You never trade without emotions. The way to try and limit down or try and control the emotions is really have a standard process when you enter a trade or before you enter a trade. Check off boxes, right? Or write down exactly why you're entering a trade. So force yourself to really have a pen and paper, write down the reason why you're entering a trade. If you do that, then you'll come to the point where the logical mind comes into a little bit more, having to write down the reason keeps that emotion a little bit more, or kicks in that logical side and then reduces that emotional side a little bit more. Okay, so that would be my biggest tip. Have a pen and paper, write down the reason why you're entering a trade. It's not enough just to tell yourself why you're entering. Write it down. Make it a physical process, make it a process before you enter a trade. I hope that helps you there. Relief Success 39910. With that said, again, thank you all for jumping onto the session. If you haven't already, do jump onto the Discord channel. We can take our discussions beyond this hour, right? And keep it going on through the day, through the night in the Discord channel. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to guide you with your trading journey. So for now, trade well, trade safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care now. Bye-bye.